Tonight on Free Minds TV, Mark Edgington from nationally syndicated radio show Free Talk Live joins us for another edition of Keen Eye on the News. Later, what does a marijuana decrim bill and the slimiest politician in the New Hampshire state legislature have in common? We'll tell you more. Also, should practicing witchcraft or downloading a women's rights document be punishable by death? We'll tell you which countries are handing out these outrageous sentences. We're also going to be getting into this week's Downsize Their Dispatch, the mailbag, and a whole lot more when we come back on Free Minds TV. Welcome to Free Minds TV, where we challenge you, the viewer, to think outside the box. As always, I'm Toby Island.
And I'm Nick Michaelevich.
All right, we are going to be getting to a special guest in the studio tonight. It's actually Delmar Burridge is going to be joining us a little bit later to talk about the marijuana decrim bill. And last year's email he sent me, I was kind of slimy, told me that he was CCing the email to the police because I was urging him to vote a certain way on a certain bill, asked me to be a snitch and whatnot. We're going to be talking a lot about that, reading the email on the air, and maybe getting his comment. We'll see if he's going to be on the show. But first, we had him on a couple of weeks ago for the Keen Eye on the News. He was talking about crosswalks and all the troubles we're having in Keene with those. This week, we're going to have another edition of Keen Eye on the News with Mark Edgington from nationally syndicated radio show Free Talk Live. You can find it at freetalklive.com. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. I am going to be doing the Keen Eye on the News. And, you know, it's I used to do a show here on Cheshire TV. But now I'm just doing a little part here on the Free Minds TV. So I kind of pick out the issue that bothers me the most. So pardon me if I sound a little cranky every time I come on. I'm complaining about something, because I like to do good news too. It's just that it's such a limited time. So I'm going to point out the thing this week that I feel like really caught my attention. A lot of the local towns, and certainly Keene, has been talking about schools recently, and then I see this little tidbit in the Sentinel today. Reading and dropout rates show a parallel. What a surprise. People who do poorly in school are likely to drop out. Apparently students who are still having trouble reading after they reach high school are among the most likely to drop out, according to Acting Superintendent William Gurney, and Keene administrators plan to target them for extra effort. Apparently this whole reading thing, you know, it's new for them, and they're now implementing a plan to take care of getting students to be able to read. Following a review for the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, the district found that more than 10% of students at Keene High were reading 2 years behind their grade level. Now, Keene High School and the local school board, those are elected people, but you know, the administrators who are behind the high school here in Keene, they didn't figure it out that 10% of their students couldn't read at level. It took the New England Association of Schools and Colleges to figure that out for them. Skipping down the article a little bit, it says, however, Keene Board of Education Chairman Neil Donegan and other board members said that an education committee Tuesday night said they hope the district can remedy the problem before the students even reach high school. Somebody missed the boat, said Donegan. He's right. The solution, he said, is more than us putting a reading program in place in the high school. We need to figure out where they're coming from and get the elementary schools to teach them. So I'm not going to propose, well, first off, I think that the way they teach kids to read now is a problem. They use the see-say method is what they call it. You look at a word, you read it. That makes perfectly good sense for those of us who are adults who look at words and read them, but kids learn and have been taught for years and years phonically. You know, how they did on Sesame Street. Doctor, doctor, doctor. That's how kids can learn to sound out any word. That's how you and I learn to sound out words. Now, most adults do not know that this is how their children are being taught to read, because most adults have abdicated their responsibility that comes with their kids. They believe that the government is going to take care of, well, you know, we got the government here, they've got a government school, we pay for it, we should just send our kids there. And I'm here to propose tonight something entirely, radically different. I think that schools have become welfare for middle-class people. I mean, if I go to the school today, I'll likely see students getting picked up in cars that are far, far nicer than mine, going to houses that are far, far nicer than the one that I live in. But I have to pay to send these kids to school. Does this make any sense? I can't, it doesn't to me. These people can afford to can pay a tuition for their kids, especially when 60% of our property taxes go to schools in general. Their property taxes would be cut by 60%. You give them that money, they could afford to send their kids to school. And don't tell me that parents wouldn't send their kids to school, because these are our most valuable assets. In the poorest countries around the world, parents pay to send their kids to school because they know that they're the next generation. They want them to have a better life than they had. It's ludicrous to believe that parents wouldn't pay to send their kids to school. I understand that there are some poor people that would have a very difficult time paying tuition for to send their kids to school. But that's not a public school issue. That's a welfare issue. Something entirely different. This public school system is almost entirely run by the teachers' union. There's a union of people out there that work for us, that lobby for what they teach the kids, what the hours are, how often they work, how much they work for. These people hold all of us hostage. And I feel like it's wrong. How much better would our education system be if we just had a free market solution where people would pay to send their kids to school? They'd choose which school to send their kids to. Look at all the advances that have been in the computer industry in the last 20 years. You could see advancements, maybe not on the same level as computers, because it doesn't have the same human component that schools do, but you could see advances in teaching. What kind of advances have we had in teaching now? On a worldwide level, the United States is going down, down, down. We're like 50th in the world as far as educating our kids. Ever since we've allowed the national government to get involved in the Department of Education, these people are under-educating our kids. No wonder kids aren't earning as much as they used to. We can't compete on the worldwide scale. And the only way that we're going to be able to do it is get the socialism out of schools. Put competition back in. Competition's what made this country great. The capitalist system's what made this country great. It provided us with the homes we live in, the cars we drive, the food we eat, and all the other things that we enjoy. For some reason, we can't do it with schools. Doesn't make any sense to me. And honestly, I'm sick and tired of paying for it. Paying for underperforming schools. I'll pay for a performing school. I've got a son on the way. Everyone knows that little Jack should be here in a month or so. I'm going to have to send him to school, but I won't be sending him to government school. He's too valuable of an asset for me. Thanks. I'm Mark Edgington. I've got my keen eye on the news for you. Thanks.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. I'm sure you've upset a lot of people.
I know that, no doubt. Somebody's got to play the grumpy old man on your show, and I'll be your Daisy.
All right. Well, I know you have a live show to get to, freetalklive.com if you want to listen to that. Good luck, and thanks so much for coming on.
That's right. Saturdays from 7 to 10.
Here in Keene, if you're watching in Keene locally on Cheshire TV, it's on WKBK.
Yep. 1290.
All right, thank you so much. All right, it's getting to that time. DownsizeDC.org dispatch.
Yep.
What's this week's Downsizer dispatch?
Well, this week's Downsizer dispatch, I have two things, and one deals with what we talked about last week. I was telling the viewers how the Senate had passed a renewal of the Protect America Act, which allows for warrantless wiretapping, but it still had a chance to be killed in the House. Well, the House did vote to do away with it, and so it wasn't renewed. And thanks in large part to Downsize DC and the people sending the representatives messages, there were 47,000 messages sent to Congress, and that probably made a difference.
The job's getting done.
Yeah, that job's getting done. But there's still a problem with bills being rolled together in Washington, and a good example of how this just happened was the College Opportunity and Affordability Act of 2007. It's very expensive. It's projected to cost the average American family $865, and you would think it's just related to financial aid for college. But there's about 27 different topics that have been rolled into the bill. It's now 792 pages long, and this is an example of how they combine unpopular portions of legislation into something that sounds popular. Just about every politician is going to vote for financial aid for college, so why not throw a bunch of other stuff in there too and it'll get passed. But Downsize DC has proposed fixing this problem by passing their One Subject at a Time Act, which would prevent the government from rolling a bunch of topics together and would only allow them to pass one piece of legislation at a time, or at least have the title of the bill reflect what's going to be passed. So that's very important. Go to downsizedc.org and tell your representatives to pass the One Subject at a Time Act so we can actually know what a bill is about, generally by the topic.
I think it makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't it be that way? Downsizedc.org. All right, when we come back, we have a special guest. Maybe we have a special guest. We'll see how that turns out. We're also going to be reading Delmar Burridge's email to me that he sent last year. He's been flip-flopping on the issue again, decriminalizing marijuana. We'll be back with a lot more right after this. Welcome back to Free Minds TV. As always, I'm Toby Islin.
And I'm Nick Michaelevich.
All right. Well, last year, there was a bill in the House to decriminalize marijuana. It was House Bill 92. And I sent Representative Burridge from Keene, New Hampshire, he's one of my representatives, an email asking him, sharing my opinion on what I wanted to vote. This year it's come up again. Delmar, after this original email made national attention, flip-flopped on his issue and changed his mind. But before we talk about it, let me just reread the email. I think it's important for people to understand what's going on here. So it's a pretty long email. If you want to read it yourself in depth, you can go to freemindstv.com, and there will be a link in the show content on tonight's episode so that you can read the whole email yourself. But here goes. Dear Representative Delmar Burridge, I hope you are in good health. I understand that you are on the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, which is going to hear testimony this Wednesday on House Bill 92, decriminalizing marijuana. I know you are opposed to this bill, but I trust you can understand how important of an issue this is to many people, both in Keene and the rest of New Hampshire. I hope you will consider passing it through committee so that all sides will have their chance to speak on it. New Hampshire has some of the most draconian legislation on marijuana, and hundreds of our friends and family members are being arrested for choosing to smoke instead of drink. Please think about passing this through committee so that everyone can listen to the opposition and have their chance to speak on it. Thank you very much. Toby Islin from Keene, New Hampshire. Seems like a pretty amicable email. I mean, I wasn't...
Seems like a friendly, please vote this way email.
Well, I do these all the time. I like to keep in contact with the representatives, so I'm used to sending these emails, but I'm not used to getting this response back. Dear Toby, my youngest brother, Albert, who I was very close to, died from head injuries sustained when he wrecked his car in West Virginia. His wife walked away. He was a triple major in college, biology, philosophy, and psychology, and was smoking a joint before the crash. It is all very vivid, including the anguish my parents went through. This occurred in the 1970s, and I still miss him. I began work as a juvenile probation officer in the poorer section of Philadelphia in 1969, and the above-described experience pales to my job eyeball-to-eyeball observation of family devastation I saw daily. And these males were reefer users, just like you, saying the same dumb stuff, just like you, and they were not smart, college smart. I saw lots of blood and death. Trust me, these campers were not soon going to be setting the world on fire. Some did suffer severe burns. Last night, one of your buddies called me twice, even asking me to be on his TV show. He was yelling and screaming, and I hung up on him. You have to chill this guy out. I will say to you what I said to 3 different callers. I will vote no on this bill and have lots of very chilling stories to relate to the other committee members, so it goes my way. I suggest you change all your friends. Be the designated driver when you are old enough to drink, since you don't drink. I will sign the bill that keeps tobacco out of the bars when it comes up in the House, so you don't get secondhand smoke. I am copying 2 members of the Keene Police Department in case you want to change your ways and act legal and save your friends. You are very passionate in your beliefs and would make a great snitch. It's thrilling to dime on your so-called friends. This from Delmar Burridge. And be healthy and be well from Delmar Burridge. I mean, copying it to the police department, what did I do? I just sent it over, sent him an email, and he's copying it to the police department saying he's acting legal? When did I ever say that I smoked marijuana? He's making so many assumptions in this. I have an opinion about a political decision, and he's assuming that I'm not following the law. He's assuming that I'm underage, assuming that I don't drink. He's just making all these assumptions in here, asking me to be a snitch. Very disgusting. This made national headlines. It was all over the place. He was getting phone calls from all over the country, actually. And he flipped on his position and was one of the only people to actually vote yes on this bill. He voted in favor of passing this bill. Yay, Delmar, he's seen the light and he's good. Well, it came up again, and he was on the subcommittee. There's House Bill 1623 is currently in the House, and he was on the subcommittee, and he was the only one to vote no on it. So, the only one in the subcommittee. It was a 3-1 vote, and he voted no. He said he just like Nancy Reagan. Delmar did agree to be on our show. He said when he got a chance, and we asked him to be on, and wow, sure enough, Delmar Burridge, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight? Well, that's not really much of a response. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about why you voted the way you did. Nothing. What's your response to the email you wrote me last year? Anything? I don't know. I really got nothing for him.
Yeah, well, Delmar doesn't seem very talkative tonight. But at least he agreed to come on the show.
Well, that's true. This is actually the same exact response he gives his constituents who call him. He doesn't return phone calls. He doesn't return emails, ever since this one that got a little bit out of control for him. He pretty much just ignores his constituents, doesn't give his reasoning, doesn't really answer back to them. So, you got nothing? You really not going to say anything, Delmar? All right, and just wanted to let people know that no animals were actually harmed in this stunt. So thank you, Delmar, for coming on the show. Maybe we can get real-life Delmar in here to defend his positions, because in my opinion, he's a coward, he's a liar, and he's a cheat. This guy is going around spreading rumors that are false about me. He's telling people that I'm a Free State Project member, which I have nothing against. Free State Project members are great. They're here to bring liberty and freedom. But no, I was born in Marlboro, New Hampshire. I've lived here for 24 years. He's telling people I'm underage. No, I was born in 1983. I'm 24 years old. I mean, this guy, Delmar Burridge, no good. He's a Keene representative, and it's time to get him out of office. So hopefully we can do that in the future. All right, Delmar, it's time for you to get out of here. See you later. If you'd like to contact Delmar Burridge, tell him he's wrong. His phone number is 603-352-5363.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe he'll return phone calls if he gets enough of them from enough people.
All right, real quick, we've got to get into this human rights issues of other governments around the world. I mean, Delmar, get out of here. Enough clucking. Go. A rights group trying to save Saudi woman sentenced to death for witchcraft. Human Rights Watch has launched an appeal to the King of Saudi Arabia to save the life of a woman sentenced to death by beheading for being a witch after a man accused her of casting a spell on him and rendered him impotent. So this woman is accused of casting a spell and is now getting a death sentence from Saudi Arabia. It looks like she was forced to give a confession by fingerprint, even though she's illiterate and wasn't read the charges that were against her. So it's very, very despicable. And we wonder why people hate us. Well, this did happen in Saudi Arabia. Who's propping up the government in Saudi Arabia? America.
Right. I think we just sold them about $20 billion worth of weapons to a country that still believes in witches.
So we wonder why people hate us when this is the governments that we're propping up. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, we're propping up governments that are sentencing people to death for witchcraft. she's not going to die yet. The king is the only person who can vindicate her sentence. So America propping up kings that are handing out death sentences for witchcraft. I think you've got another similar story?
I have a similar story, and this is more directly linked to America. A young man and a student of journalism by the name of Saeed Pervez Kambak has been sentenced to death for downloading a women's rights pamphlet. It was a document stating that the Quran was being misapplied and misquoted to justify the oppression of women. And the local authorities didn't like the fact they had this document and have sentenced him to death. Now, President Karzai can pardon him under Afghan law, but the Senate in Afghanistan, the democratically elected Senate, has passed a resolution upholding the sentence and saying that it was a justified sentence and asking President Karzai not to overturn it. So if there's not much you can do except maybe write to the Afghan government. It's still unclear as to whether they'll get pardoned, but yeah, it's very unfortunate. And this is 6 years after we liberated Afghanistan.
This is what liberations do. Well, what I gotta say is, well, at least there's other countries that are much worse than us. We still have quite a lot of freedom here that other countries don't have. So it's good to be in America, even if there still are a lot of problems on it. I'd say one of the main things we need to do is stop propping up these governments and stop liberating these governments so that they can liberate themselves and get rid of horrible sentences like this. All right, when we come back, we have a couple of interesting news stories to get to. George Bush being impeached by the New Hampshire legislature. I don't know, is that even possible? Nick will probably tell me because I don't know. We'll be right back with a lot more right after this.
Want more Free Minds TV? Log on to freemindstv.com 24 hours of the day or night for video archives of past shows and bonus videos, show content, and our audio podcasts. You will also find pictures, more information about the show, guests and interviews, Liberty links, the law, and of course, contact information. Reach us by email at fmtv@freemindstv.com or leave us a voicemail on our talkback line by calling 206-600-2982. All this and more at freemindstv.com.
Welcome back to Free Minds TV. I am Toby Island.
And I'm Nick Michaelevich.
Okay, well, Nick, I've got a news story that I've got to ask you about because I found it very interesting, but I don't know my legalese very well. It looks like a New Hampshire State Representative, Betty Hall, has introduced a resolution in support of impeachment, House Bill 24, and public hearing is scheduled before the New Hampshire legislature to impeach George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Can the New Hampshire House do this?
Yep, they can introduce a resolution, and if the House votes for it, they can send that to Congress. It's basically, just a petition, but it's written by the state legislature, and they ask that that the impeachment go forward on Capitol Hill. It's not binding in any way, but yeah, they can ask that.
That's a pretty strong message, if nothing else.
But they can ask that the U.S. Congress pursue impeachment.
All right, well, Betty Hall, way to go. Good New Hampshire representative, as opposed to Burridge, who was a bad New Hampshire representative. I don't know much about Betty Hall, but sending down impeachment on George Bush for New Hampshire, I like it. Live free or die.
It sends a message. Well, speaking of live free or die, I have an article here which raises some questions. A Milford man is to admit he ran video poker games. This from the Nashua Telegraph. One of the two Milford men who was charged with running video poker gambling at the Harley Sanford Veterans of Foreign Wars post plans to plead guilty, while the other is scheduled to stand trial next month, court records show. Now, what these men were charged with is they had undercover agents from the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission go into the VFW hall, and there was a video poker machine in there, which is legal as long as there's no money being paid out. Well, the veterans decided that they wanted to play some poker on a video poker machine. And these are felony charges. They carry a sentence of 3.5 to 7 years in prison for running one video poker machine. And these are men who supposedly
fought for freedom?
Right, fought to protect freedom. And
this is what freedom brings?
Yes, and this is supposedly the live free or die state. And if it sounds unusual that we should maybe legalize these video poker machines, maybe let veterans play them, in their bar.
Yeah.
These things are legal just across the border, just north of the border in Quebec. They have them in pretty much every bar you go into.
So there's more liberty and freedom up across the border in Canada than in the land of the free, home
Right.
of the brave America?
Yeah, well, if I owned a bar and I wanted to, say, put a machine in there, I wouldn't get 3.5 to 7 years in prison. That's
That's a hefty sentence.
Yeah.
Now, is this a New Hampshire law, you said, or is this a federal law?
This is a New Hampshire law, and raids on video poker machines are regular, if not a frequent part of New Hampshire law enforcement, according to the article. That's how Manchester got the nickname Manch Vegas after several high-profile raids. This was a few years ago on the same thing, video poker machines. They gave it a nickname because of the amount of gambling going on in town. But it's a pretty serious sentence. He doesn't look like he's going to get any time in prison. They're giving him a couple hundred hours of community service, a couple $1,000 fine, but I really don't see why this is necessary. And to me, it seems rather insulting that there were police posing as veterans in the VFW. I mean, the Nashville Police Department, or what's this, Milford, the Milford Police Department took members that weren't necessarily veterans and had them go undercover in a VFW hall to bust veterans for playing poker.
Give me a break. I mean, we live in America, which is supposed to be the freest country in the world, and then New Hampshire, which is supposed to be live free or die, and we're outlawing veterans from playing video poker? Give me a break. All right, well, that's just going to be about do it for us. I mean, we've had all this email to read, but we get into so many topics during the show that we don't really have time to cover them all. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little extra bonus segment that we're going to play here on Cheshire TV, based out at where we're recorded from in Keene, New Hampshire. That will then be, we have a couple other stories we're going to get to as well. That's going to be posted on the members section as well at freemindstv.com. We have a whole lot of bonus content up there if people want to view it. So it will be available to the TV viewers here in Keene, New Hampshire, but for the rest of you, if you want to see it, freemindstv.com and click on the members section to learn more. All right, well, we'd also encourage you to email us if you have an opinion. I'm sure we've angered a lot of you out there. You can send it to fmtv@freemindstv.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also leave us a voicemail on our talkback line, 206-600-2982, 206-600-2982, and we'd love to hear your response. Agree with us, disagree with us, whatever it is. There's a whole lot of stuff. All at freemindstv.com. Well, it's been Toby here with you.
And Nick.
And we'll be back with an extra special edition of Free Minds TV next week with all new special shows. Thanks a lot and have a great night.
What?
You filming me?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
Is this your car?
Yeah.
What does the sign say? It says no parking anytime. But you went into the bank to use the ATM machine.
Yeah, but the ATM machine get money. What's the problem?
Right, but you're not allowed to park where it says no parking anytime.
Please.
Somebody else would get a ticket for that. Why are you allowed to do that?
Have a nice day, sir.
Do you think it's wrong that when you need to go in the bank, you park in a no parking anytime? What?
Go in the bank, get some money to eat.
You're allowed to go in the bank to get some money to eat and park in a no parking anytime?
What am I supposed to do? Stay hungry all day because of you?
What are other people supposed to do? You would give a ticket to somebody else who did that.
Park at a meter.
But you didn't park at a meter. You parked in a no parking anytime and you broke the law.
Have a good day, sir.
You're a sergeant and you would break the law?
Have a good day, sir.
Are you ashamed of yourself?
Have a good day, sir.
I'm having a great day because I have you on video breaking the law.